This is the 2-minute notification. I would encourage everybody to please take their seats, and we're going to begin the council meeting shortly. Thank you. The Cuyahoga County Special Council meeting for Monday, April 20th, 2026 will now come to order. The time is about 6 minutes past 1 o'clock. I'm not going to read all the prescriptions about rules and decorum, but to say that all of those things as previously read into the record remain in effect. And I would ask the clerk to please call the roll.
Good afternoon, everyone. As a reminder to all in attendance, this meeting is being recorded and live streamed on the county's YouTube page. Also, as a reminder to all meeting attendees seeking parking validation for today's meeting, please be sure to scan the QR code located on the back table near the chamber's entrance to claim your discount. If you do not already have a Metropolis account, you will need your license plate number to set up the account in advance of receiving your discount. Please be sure to complete this prior to the end of today's meeting, as the QR code will be removed at the conclusion of the meeting. Calling the roll, Mr. Kelly.
Here.
Mr. Sweeney.
Present.
Mr. Castleberry.
Here.
Mr. Gallagher. Mr. Schlepper.
Here.
Ms. Conwell.
Present.
Mr. Jones.
Here.
Ms. Turner.
Present.
Mr. Hauser is absent at the moment. Ms. Simon is absent at the moment. Council President Miller.
Here.
You have a quorum.
Thank you very much. And the next item is silent meditation, and I would ask everybody present to please join me in a moment of silent reflection on whatever is on your heart at this time.
Council President,
Yes,
would you also like to do the Pledge of Allegiance?
yes. Okay. So I would ask everyone to please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Next on the agenda is public comment. Do we have anybody signed in?
No public comment has been received.
Thank you very much. And under the council president's announcements, I would just say that we're in an extraordinary set of circumstances, and it's going to probably take some time to work through the issues that we have today, and we're gonna take as much time as we need, and everyone's gonna have a chance to have their concerns discussed, and we'll work through it and try to get to the finish line. So at this point, I would ask if there are any comments on behalf of our executive.
Thank you, Mr. President. No messages at this time.
Thank you very much. Legislation introduced by executive. Consideration of a resolution for first reading and referral to committee.
Resolution 2026-0111, authorizing the issuance of bonds in the amount not to exceed $73,225,000 to provide funds to pay for the costs of remodeling, renovating, rehabilitating, furnishing, equipping, and otherwise improving the facilities of the Cuyahoga County Court of Common Pleas General Division with related site improvements and appurtenances thereto.
Refer it to the committee of the whole. So, next, I would make everybody aware that the rules of council contain a prescribed order of agenda for council meetings, and it provides that any executive session is scheduled at the end of the meeting. However, we can amend the agenda by a parliamentary motion, and it would be to our advantage to have our executive session next. So I would,
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to change the executive session from where it is now to right now.
Second.
it's been moved and seconded to amend the agenda and make the executive session the next item of business. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion is carried, so we will move on toward the executive session. All meetings of the Cuyahoga County Council are open to the public under Ohio open meetings laws. Under that law, council may go into executive session during a meeting for specifically authorized purposes. During executive session, council confers outside the hearing of the public. Council may not make any decisions about any matters in executive session. All decisions are made in public. This afternoon, the council will go into executive session for the purpose of discussing pending or imminent court action and matters required to be kept confidential by state statute. During this time, our live stream will be down, and we ask all those not specifically needed for the executive session to remain in council chambers. Council members will convene in the adjacent committee room A and will re-enter the meeting once the executive session is ended. Is there a motion to go into executive session for the purpose of discussing pending or imminent court action and matters required to be kept confidential by state statute?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded, and that motion requires a roll call.
Mr. Kelly,
Yes.
Mr. Sweeney,
Yes.
Mr. Castleberry.
Yes.
Mr. Gallagher, Mr. Schlepper,
Yes.
Mrs. Conwell. Yes. Mr. Jones,
Yes.
Ms. Turner.
Yes.
Mr. Hauser is absent. Ms. Simon is absent. Council President Miller,
Yes,
the motion carries.
thank you very much. That motion has carried, so we will now move into the adjacent committee room for the executive session. We're going to give the council members a short break, and we're going to reconvene at 3:15. Thank you.
Council President, I just want the record to reflect that Councilmember Simon is in attendance.
And Hauser as well.
Okay, thank you. 703 of the Cuyahoga County Code entitled Justice Center Capital Projects Fund.
Thank you very much. I would like to now invite the administration, financial and bond council representatives to provide us any additional information that you have to provide us on this proposed ordinance.
Thank you, Council President. Bob Franz with Stiefel Nicholas. I'm the county's financial advisor. Yeah, and there's a presentation or a couple slides that we want to just kind of walk through to help encapsulate the conversation. As we've talked about a couple of times now, we are seeking these amendments for 3 reasons. 1, for federal tax considerations. 2, for bond rating discussions and concerns. And 3, to protect the existing sales tax revenue and bond investors of the county. To be clear, we're not looking to do anything other than get these amendments. We're not looking for additional appropriations or expenditures or blanket type of investment or blanket type of spending authorizations. What we're looking to do here is just get the best possible rating, protect the county as best we can, and maximize every dollar of investment earnings to the county. In a lot of, as we were kind of thinking about this conversation, we wanted to bring a couple of things to the forward here. I think that some things that haven't been necessarily talked about a lot, but kind of gotten lost in the shuffle. I just want to make sure these are clear. This capital fund, this Justice Center Capital Projects Fund, it is part of the general fund. It's a sub-fund within the general fund. So the transparency, everything that normally comes with general fund reviews and analysis will come forward with this as well. It is subject to the biennial process, the biennial budget process and update process for revenue and expenditures. It'll be included on all fiscal items, fiscal agenda items. Section 703.04 within the 703 structure also does require quarterly reporting on revenues, expenditures, and fund balances. So, and even the annual reporting, that'll fall within the annual reporting by March 31st of each year in 701.07 of the county code. So, there is complete control still of expenditures out of this fund directed by this body, by council. So I wanted to just bring that to the forward here and to help the discussion along. So what we've talked about is a lot about this section here, about 703.02. What we had in there to begin with was what bond counsel was calling the best, which is sections A, B, C, and D. Now what has been proposed is eliminating C and D. So now we're going from what was best to what's better, which we still believe provides the budget flexibility from the bond rating concern, and does not require the fund to be yield restricted, as long as the standard representations are included in the tax documents. And where we came to in this discussion was if we alter section B, it will likely limit the budget flexibility with the rating analysts, and as Catherine will describe, it will require the fund to be yield restricted. So if that occurs, there is a significant opportunity that it could cost the county significant money, millions of dollars. It's impossible to tell exactly what the numbers are, but as we'll get into, we believe it's not the best move for the county to consider that.
Thank you, and good morning. Catherine Swartz with Bricker, Graydon, Wyatt, and we've talked a lot about better and best. Now that we're moving off and want to pursue what this would look like if we made further alterations to Section B, I wanted to fully describe the ramifications of yield restriction, which we've talked about quite a bit in our last few meetings. So generally, what this will mean is that revenue in the funds cannot earn investment earnings higher than the bond yield. Bond yield has not yet been set, But we are in an interest rate environment right now where it is possible to earn higher interest investment earnings on your investment earnings than the yield of the bond. So what this means as a first consideration is that the county will most likely receive fewer investment earnings, assuming that the interest rate environment that we are currently in continues. Secondly, the administrative impact that the county is going to have to carefully limit and monitor the investment earnings in this account and how the money is invested. The compliance is going to be extremely complicated because we are going to be in a situation that if you earn more interest, it could impact the risk here, the tax status of the bonds. So if at any time the fund earns even a small amount more than the yield on the bonds, 12.5 basis points, then the IRS could make a determination of taxability. Here, we have a similar situation with the project fund. The project fund also cannot earn more interest than the yield on the bonds. However, for 3 years, the county has this period where it could earn higher interest and then write a check to the IRS for the excess amount. They have a 3-year period for the project fund. For this pledge fund, for this fund, they will have a 30-day period. And money is going to be coming into and out of the fund. It'll be much different than the project fund, which gets a one-time deposit on the day of closing. So it's a very clear beginning. Money comes in, and then it only comes out. It's easier to manage. And we often have on project funds that there is more interest earned, and some interest is paid back to the IRS. It means that you've maxed out the highest amount of interest that you could possibly get. Here, we have this rotating 30-day period, which is administratively nearly impossible to manage and make sure that you know when money comes in and what money comes out, and that at any point in time after that 30-day period, on this rotating basis, that there is no interest being earned higher than the yield on the bonds. We've had several conversations about this, and the best way to ensure it is to hold the fund in cash, not make any investment earnings. That's the easiest way to administratively comply with this requirement. Obviously, that would be losing out on even significantly more interest, but could make sure that you were not going over. You want to comment on that?
Once again, Mike Chambers, your fiscal officer. I agree 100% with Catherine and Bob. These guys are the experts. Right now, this is I believe, the second time in 6 years I'm without an investment manager. That position's been empty since the new year. So we're putting a lot of administrative burden on staff that's filling in temporarily. What happens in a couple of years from now, we lose somebody. This is very risky. And for us to risk that opportunity, I don't think it's worth it. I think we should follow the way we've always done it and try and maximize our potential. And if we do earn too much, then we pay that back out of the money we have sitting there. So I'm strongly in favor of what Catherine and the team is proposing, because to administer that ourselves, we just don't have the right people, the manpower, and I'm more worried about the future and turnover.
Thank you very much for the presentation. Questions by my colleagues? Councilman Gallagher.
Thank you. I'm not going to vote for any of this, so what I say doesn't mean much. But I will tell you, I was very concerned about costs over 7 years ago. And now we seem to be worried about costs. And out of nowhere, we're worried about the IRS. When before, we've never worried about the IRS. So I don't really know what's going on here. I asked you, sir, in your history of working and doing this, can you come up with an example of some government entity being asked to remove bookends from the money that's directly put into the building of the two projects on hand, which I thought really was what we were here about, is to pay for the money we're borrowing. But now we're hearing about IRS, better, best, good. I'm very frustrated, not necessarily at you. How many meetings with the administration you guys have about this?
been going on a long time, so quite a
We've been
few.
working on it a long time, and then it's thrown on our table. And I'm not saying last minute, but this is relatively new. So I don't know what's going on here, and I'm usually skeptical of everything when dealing with the county. I've learned to be somewhat skeptical. But this really doesn't make a lot of sense to me, to take away bookends, to make sure that the money we borrow is paid back by the 0.25% extended 40 years, not the 20 for a convention center, hotel, not that the hotel was part of it, but the medical mart. Something's wrong here. I don't know exactly what. The finance people I've run this through have never heard of this ever, and I will share their names with you after the meeting. I'm just skeptical of everything anymore, considering my history with these projects. And I honestly don't know which way to go. We got a letter from the prosecutor today, I think kind of muddies the water a bit. I know it doesn't directly have an impact with what we're talking about today, but ultimately it will. So I leave it to the council to make a decision that unfortunately I think I cannot participate in.
Other questions or comments? Ms. Simon?
So I understand your presentation today. Were you addressing the removal of C and D from our last meeting, or are you addressing the amendment that I have before my council colleagues to take out operating expenses?
I'm addressing taking out operating expenses.
Okay,
from
thank
the-
you. Okay. And leaving that maintenance language, which is actually added to the original ordinance, that does give flexibility that's required to make sure that this is not a pledge. It still opens this up for two structures that are going to need maintenance, absolutely. And isn't that enough to assuage the concern that this is not a pledge fund, that we have other dollars that we're going to be using, or
We-
other uses for this fund?
We did look at that as an option, and the maintenance on its own was not enough for us to be able to determine that we could rely on a representation by the county that it was not a pledge fund. We were, again, we're moving from best to better, and we were relying on the operating and maintenance together. Also, because we're building, and this is to last the whole life of the bond issue, and in the next 3 to 3 years, the goal is here that there would be a new jail that would open, and the maintenance costs are really hard to determine prospectively in that respect. You can't look at what we're spending now for maintenance. It's hard to determine what that amount would be, and to guess, it was not defined enough. So that was our determination.
Well, don't forget that this is also for the court.
And for the
So
court.
we do know that the court is, we actually have numbers on the court of what it's going to require to maintain it. And right now we're short. I want to make sure for my colleagues, edification, that this fund is going to make sure that both structures are going to be maintained properly. Because as of 2 weeks ago, we were told there's no money for the court to fix a leaky roof, and it took all of this to get there. And I don't want in the next 5 years, to have that same problem, which is going to happen. If we keep operating costs in, it's going to be used for OT, it's going to be used for whatever. And I think it really, it damages our ability to have planning. But you can't sign off, you're saying, what if there's a better we have a definition in here. What else would be needed other than opening this up to general fund operations? Because that still is related to the structures. How much better could we define this to satisfy you?
The analysis that I had, and this comes with many discussions with my tax committee, who spend a lot more time on this than I do, was that it was the operations. We're trying to avoid this looking like a fund used for debt service, which is that is what the IRS makes the determination that you can issue bonds on a tax exempt basis. They view that as a gift, that they have a lot of strings that come with that, and specifically they want to make sure that you're issuing for a governmental purpose, you don't have other funds that you could be using, that that if you have funds that you have set aside to pay debt service, that you're not earning excess interest on, excess investment earnings on that. These are all the strings from the IRS that they have in place so that they're making sure that that an issuer is not taking advantage of their tax exempt status. So that is not coming from me or anything, or you. It's not, and it also doesn't make any determination about how you spend money. I mean, there's a budgeting process for the county that's going to go through on an annual basis and determine how general fund money is spent of the county. We're not questioning any of that process. We are just looking at this fund and on its face, making sure that we could give a tax opinion, that we can rely on the certification of the county that it is not a pledge fund, and so that we can give a tax opinion. And as long as we have that better language, the B having both maintenance and operating, we can do that.
If I can, through the chair, talk to our law director, if you're in a position to opine. If not, that's fine.
I am happy to assist, as I have, with respect to definitional items, and we've researched that, like what would count as a maintenance item if it were defined a certain way, and we have lists of that and administrative code references and those kinds of things as to whether we are going to need to restrict the yield on the project on the capital projects fund. I need to defer to bond counsel because they will be issuing the opinion at the end of the day as to not just the legal valid and binding nature of the bonds, but also what the tax exempt status of the bonds. And so associated with that will be statements made in a document signed by the county called a tax compliance certificate. And what Catherine and Bricker are saying is that they will require us and correct me if I'm wrong, Catherine, they will require us in that tax compliance certificate that we will need to sign that we are going to restrict the yield on the capital projects fund in order for you to give your opinion, ultimately that the interest is tax exempt on the jail bonds, right? And so I can help with certain things and opine on certain things, but ultimately, Bricker Graydon has been hired to serve as bond counsel, and we need to defer to them on whether this is going to be required. This being a yield restriction, because without their opinion, we don't issue the bonds.
Okay.
Councilman Kelly.
Thank you, Mr. President. So I'm not a fan of the word operations. I think it's too vague of a term. However, at this point, with this letter today from Prosecutor O'Malley, I think it's unwise to vote on anything until the group of four, whoever they're called, meets and it satisfies RC 153.36. And until we know that that's been taken care of, I don't like the idea of voting on anything.
Any other questions or comments?
So
Councilman Sweeney.
Thank you, Mr. President. Would it be a time to propose my amendment?
Yes, it would.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to make a motion to submit ordinance, proposed amendment to 2026-0001.
Okay.
Second.
We'll have a little discussion.
Yes, please explain the gist of your amendment.
I will explain the gist. And to our wonderful bond counsel, I think you opened up this regarding my amendment. Does that be accurate? Because you just described it's in the general fund, everything's the same. Do that again if you want.
I can pull that up again if you want.
Did you
but
do
I'm
that for this purpose, for the amendment?
No.
Okay,
So Councilman, I'm not sure what your amendment is.
perfect.
So,
Yeah, all you
this
said
is-
was it's
yeah, I
a
mean,
general
this is-
fund.
It's a sub-fund within the general fund. This will be part of the budgeting process, part of the reporting process. All items will be reported quarterly. That's actually in section 703 already. So this will be, line itemed out, just like all other general fund expenditures, appropriations, et cetera.
Thank you. And through the chair, all this does is gives us an opportunity to have a report to us before any expenditure goes. So we'll know that this came from it used to be paid for by the general fund. My big concern is $1 being paid for in the general fund right now for the operations of the courthouse, the jail, or the Capitol is taken out and substituted by the court fund. I just want to know that's happening prior to it getting approved. And I talked to the administration. They said they're fine with the legislation. And to me, I just want to know, because I say, I maybe don't want that dollar that is in the, I want it to stay general fund and not go to capital, because that general fund is wide open. So I'm making Walter do a little bit more work and let us have the opportunity to see it before it gets approved. So it's that simple.
So my comment is that this amendment provides some additional transparency. It can still be done through the regular fiscal agenda process, but it would require backup documentation that's more detailed than would be typical. And so
Dale's much more succinct than I am.
So I'm planning to vote yes. Any other questions or comments on this amendment? If not, all those in favor of including the amendment as part of the ordinance, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The amendment is included. Were there no votes?
Respectfully, no.
You didn't know we could do that.
Let's do a roll, Mr.
Kelly, okay. Okay, are there any other amendments?
Sure. I'm going to move to introduce the amendment to not include operating expenses and leave in maintenance as defined. If there's a second.
Is there a second on the?
Second.
There is a second, okay. Please present the amendment.
Well, we talked about it. I still think that this is not as restrictive as, I know people are going to defer to bond counsel, but I think it's really important that council provide its legislative intent of what we're doing with the sales taxes. It was originally at least explained to the voters way back that this was only going to be for the building of these two structures and repairing the Justice Center. And we're changing that. And I think it's important that we go back to what we originally had intended.
Discussion on the amendment. So I would just say that I don't favor this amendment. We heard testimony that if this amendment is approved, that the capital fund will be yield restricted, which will cost us serious money. Also, the version that includes both maintenance and operations will give us the best possible case to make with the rating agencies. And third, that it will cause significant administrative issues in terms of monitoring the interest earnings on the capital fund. So I urge a vote against the amendment.
Mr. President, I just want to go back to council. Is it you're absolutely stating that the yield restriction is we're going to be tagged with that because we're removing operation versus maintenance? I mean, I thought you thought there was more of a risk. It's not an absolute.
As I discussed last week, I said it was a possibility. It was one we had not done, I had not done research on and had not talked to because that had never been proposed until I was in the meeting last Tuesday. I said I would go back to my tax committee and pose that option to them. And I did, and the response that I got back was that if you remove operating, we will require yield restriction of the fund. We will need to.
So absolutely. Okay.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, the clerk will call the roll on the amendment.
Mr. Kelly?
Question first. This is to put the substitute in. It's not voting on the,
Yes, we're not voting on the main question yet. We're voting on the amendment. If you vote yes, it means that, that only maintenance would be added as an allowable expense and operations would be excluded. If you vote no, it means you want to keep the legislation as it currently is before the committee, which would allow both maintenance and operations for the jail or justice center to be allowed.
yes.
Count,
Mr. Sweeney?
No.
Mr. Castleberry?
With comment, I'm going to have to say no. I agree with Ms. Simon's train of thought, but listening to the bond counsel, I have to agree with them, so I'll say no.
Mr. Gallagher?
Once again, respectfully, I think these are two solid amendments, but I don't want to shape legislation I'm not going to vote for. But I would strongly suggest the council, especially on this one, consider it.
Mr. Schlepper?
hold on.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Is that a yes or a no? Okay.
It was a no. Mr. Schlepper?
No.
Ms. Conwell?
No.
Mr. Jones?
No.
Ms. Turner?
No.
Mr. Hauser?
Yes.
Ms. Simon?
Yes.
Council President Miller?
No.
The vote is 8-3, 8 voting, casting dissenting votes, and 3 casting yes votes. The motion fails.
So the proposed amendment does not become part of the ordinance. The question before the council is now on the adoption of the ordinance as substituted with the one amendment. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, the clerk will call the roll on the ordinance as amended.
Mr. Kelly?
No with comment. Again, with this letter from the prosecutor today, I think it's unwise to vote on anything related to this jail project or this particular ordinance, so I'm a no.
Mr. Sweeney?
Yes.
Mr. Castleberry?
Yes.
Mr. Gallagher? Mr. Schlepper?
Yes.
Ms. Conwell?
Yes.
Mr. Jones?
Yes.
Ms. Turner?
Yes.
Mr. Hauser?
Yes.
Ms. Simon?
No.
Council President Miller?
Yes.
The motion carries, 8 voting in the affirmative and 3 casting dissenting votes.
The ordinance is adopted. Before we move on to the last 2 items on the agenda, I would just like to make sure everybody is aware that that these items are both still in committee of the whole, and we're only having discussion today, primarily for the purpose of if council members have any additional questions or comments, that they can get them out on the table today before we consider them next Tuesday, if we're able to do so. And so the next item is Resolution 20.
Council President, can we have a motion to adopt? Can we just have a clarification of first and a second? Or we can do it a first and a second?
On the first one?
This is for the final, the one that we just did.
Mr. Chair,
The motion that we approved was to adopt as substituted. It passed.
Correct, but
Yeah,
we're just trying to clarify who's second.
who's,
Who made the motion?
I'll make a motion to pass this.
Thank
okay.
you.
Sweeney and
And
Conwell.
Conwell.
Okay. Okay, thank you. Okay. So please read Resolution 2026-0094 into the record.
Resolution 2026-0094, authorizing the issuance of bonds in the amount not to exceed $984,540,000 for the purposes of costs of capital projects for County Corrections Center facilities, which shall include the cost of including acquiring land and interest in land, constructing, reconstructing, rehabilitating, remodeling, renovating, enlarging, improving, furnishing, and equipping facilities with related site improvements and appurtenances thereto.
Okay. Mr. Franz, welcome back.
Oh, wrong presentation.
Your microphone on?
Yes, wrong, yeah. Is there another presentation? Okay. Well, County Council, Bob Franz, Managing Director of Stiefel, County's financial advisor. What I'll go through quickly is the same presentation that we walked through, just to make sure there's any questions. Happy to answer them. The same presentation we went to on the 24th. So nothing has changed at this point to the presentation that I'll show you versus what we went through quickly. Again, I'll go through this quickly so that there can be more time for the project and more of that discussion. But want to just make sure that, we're being responsive, and want to make sure that if there's any questions, happy to answer them, and happy to follow up with any additional items as well. So quickly, what we talked about was, the history of the 0.25%, what it funds, what it funded, and that we sold those notes in mid last year for $41.5 million. Again, that's a driver of the schedule that we talked about. They mature on June 4th. So we have $41.5 million coming due, as well as $1.76 million of interest coming due that we have to fund. So what we need to fund and then how we're going to fund the need are the two driving primary questions here. So we need to, and as I think Nicole English or Jeff Applebaum will describe, or described last week, and will describe soon, that 910 is closer to 16 million dollars shorter. So, but again, it's still the same budget, same numbers. Note interest, and then the capitalized interest, all add up to that $984,538,000. So we're trying to fund the need. So when I wanted to identify the needs of the budget, the note interest coming due, and then the need to capitalize the interest. And by doing that, we're proposing to issue long-term fixed rate bonds. So $984,538,000, just round up to the nearest 5,000. That's how bonds are sold. So hopefully we'll be a little bit less than that, but wanted to keep it as clear cut as possible as to what we're funding. We're looking to issue long-term bonds, a maximum maturity of 38 years, which is a long time, or 2064, but that maximizes the affordability for the county, which is a key driver. And the security, or what we're providing to investors to entice them to buy these bonds, is the general obligation pledge, full faith and credit of Cuyahoga County. So although it is not the 0.25% that is pledged or sales tax that is pledged, it is extremely important that we have that so we can afford that bond issue. As we talked about, this is my best way to summarize that really detailed sheet that we passed out of how those bonds, or how the bonds would be structured. In the years 26 through 27, we have that capitalized interest amount to get us to the years where the sales tax is free and clear, starting in 28. So 72.8 million of capitalized interest. Then we jump up to where the debt service really starts to pay, which is in 28 through 34. We start to incrementally increase those numbers to allow for over that 7-year period to really allow the numbers to flow through the budget, make sure the assumptions are correct, as opposed to really going out of the gate hard with a higher number. And then in 2035, in this model, we're assuming level debt thereafter. So 61.1 million a year through 35, or I'm sorry, from 35 to 2064. And, it is a balancing act of term versus overall cost. So as same thing with a fixed year, or with a home mortgage, 15 versus a 30-year. Your payments or your rates are going to be a little bit lower the shorter you go on term. You're going to pay a lower amount of interest to investors or the lender with the 15-year mortgage, but your annual payments or your monthly payments on your mortgage are going to be higher. Same thing with bonds. The lower you go with your term, the higher the annual payments. And given the sensitivities for the financing plan, we really wanted to maximize the affordability for the county on this, to go out a little longer, to go out as long as we can. We can, as with most municipal bond issues, you can refund at some point, restructure. So it isn't locked in forever. So typically you have a 10-year optional call provision. So you do have the opportunity to adjust in the future. It's just, trying to be as conservative and, again, a key or an eye towards affordability today. That's really what we were trying to do on this one. Then we talked about interest earnings on the bonds. 25 to 30 million is kind of where we're estimating. That's going to depend a lot on how fast the money is spent, what the rates are at the time, which we don't know. So it's hard to estimate those at this point, but given an estimated draw schedule and some market rates, we came up with that number. So hopefully it's more, but we want to be really as comfortable as we can on that. And then I think as Jeff and Nicole described last week, there are some new efficiencies with the new facility that hopefully will happen. But we're not baking those into the model at all. We just want to make sure that we can afford the obligations for the new bonds from the 0.25% fund. So this is still the same schedule. Obviously, it's a little bit dated given recent events, but still working backwards is still important here. So we still have that note maturity that I mentioned before. That's still the driver of the schedule to make sure that we have the funds available to pay that note off. So working backwards, we'll close a day before that. 2 to 3 weeks before that, we'll price and lock their deal in, selling it to a bunch of investors on the week of May 11th. You kind of work backwards from there, try to get the rating, finalize the POS, ship it out to investors, market it to the world, get the best deal we can for that pricing, and then that kind of puts us at next Tuesday, which is the 28th of April, for full passage. So those are the kind of the key phrases, or the key dates and activities there for the bond issue. Oh, sorry. And that's what I have. So happy to entertain questions or comments.
Okay, thank you very much. comments or questions about the bond sale. If there's any information that you need between now and next Tuesday, this would be a good time to put it out there.
The President, do we have that presentation?
I believe you do, Council.
An email or, because I don't see it
I
physically.
can make sure it gets to everybody.
Okay, thank you.
Councilmember Turner, it was emailed.
Great, thank you, Madam Clerk.
Okay. Anything else? Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Resolution 2026-0110.
2026-0110, authorizing an amendment to a contract with Gilbane Building Company dated April 23rd, 2024, for additional funds in the amount not to exceed $752,353,406 to establish a guaranteed maximum price in the amount not to exceed $806,314,787 for a total contract value of $810,706,406 for design build services for the county central services campus to include the county correction center and the offices of the county sheriff.
Thank you, Nicole English with Public Works. Jeff Applebaum, our owner's rep, is in Columbus for mediation today. So happy to take any questions. We'll be back again in a week or two, too.
Before we take questions, I would like to set that aside for a moment. And we've been advised that on ordinance number 2026-0001, it would be a good thing if we would have a motion and a second and then another vote on the legislation, as opposed to what we did where we had the motion and the second after the legislation was adopted. Is there a motion? This is to approve ordinance 2026-0001 as amended with the one amendment from Sweeney.
Motion to adopt as amended.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Clerk will call the roll.
Mr. Kelly?
No.
Mr. Sweeney? Okay, I'm sure that's a yes. Mr. Castleberry?
Yes.
Mr. Gallagher? No.
You can't vote for it.
Ms. Conwell? Mr. Jones?
Yes.
Ms. Turner?
Yes.
Mr. Hauser?
Yes.
Ms. Simon? Mr. Schlepper?
Yes.
Ms. Simon? Okay. Council President Miller?
Yes.
We have 8 who voted in the affirmative and 1 who cast a dissenting vote.
Okay. Ordinance is adopted. Thank you very much.
So the motion carries from 7 voting in the affirmative and 1 casting a dissenting vote.
Okay. Thank you. And I apologize for my error in not having that done right in the first place. So the question now is whether anyone has any questions or comments regarding the proposed GMP contract.
So I have a presentation that mostly has from last week what we gave. It does have a couple extra sheets in it, if you'd like me to run through it, or I
Yes,
can just wait for
yes,
questions.
no, definitely. Please proceed.
Okay. I'll skip through some of the stuff that Jeff covered, I think, in detail. You know where we are. We're at the GMP process right now in this chart that we've been showing every time that we present. You're well aware of the project team. Just a quick reminder, I know there's been a couple questions of what is in the jail, what are we building? So I just wanted to put this slide back in that confirms the size of the project that we're building. The main campus is about 875,000 square feet with a professional development center of 18,600 square feet. And that's that Aldi building that was never opened as an Aldi, the off-site building that is to the north of our site. And then just a reminder of the 1886 rated capacity bed count. As you'll remember, you typically design to an 85% capacity. You don't want to fill every bed. You want to have flexibility for classification, for female versus male, all of those things. And so while we're building 886 beds, it really is looking at the 85% around 1,600 as far as what would be the total in any given day. The core facilities are designed to expand up to 2,400 beds, so that would be the kitchen, the laundry. You don't want to, at some point, if we had to add an addition housing units, go open up the kitchen and make it bigger. So we are providing those core support facilities if it ever had to be expanded to 2,400 beds. The chart on the right lists all the different housing units, the 52 housing units that are included, in addition to 25 beds in the infirmary that do not count in our bed rated capacity. That was just a quick reminder. Here's the site plan again, as we've walked through several times. This is the same as you saw last week. Nothing has changed. Some of the outside images that we've walked through, looking at the lobby, looking at the housing units on the jail side. And then just a quick reminder, this was shown last year, but just quickly to show when you walk in the lobby, kind of the main public spaces that you'd be seeing. If you walk into the lobby in the yellow, you'd go to the right to sheriff admin, or you'd go to the left if you were trying to have business with the jail. Jail administration and jail programming and release and reentry are on that south wall of the facility. If you were to enter the jail, you would head into screening, which is the main point of screening for both employees and staff. And then if the public was headed to visitation, they would be right adjacent to screening. And then up to the housing units is sort of that arrow just showing you when you get up. We have the detailed plans that I have sent information to all of you. If you're wanting to walk through them, I can get into more detail of these. There are security rationale as to why we aren't sharing all the detailed plans publicly, but I'm happy to walk through any more detail that you guys may want on the inside of the building. Quickly, again, these are images of renderings that we receive from the public spaces. The top left is the lobby. The top right would be the space where you would be waiting at jail admin if you were going to have a visit or needing to do business in the jail. The bottom left is the reentry space, and the bottom right is the screening. You can see kind of, if you look really closely, there's the K-9s on the right side of the screen. That's where K-9 screening would happen before anyone would enter the jail proper. Employee spaces, just showing you an image on the bottom left of a typical roll call / conference room. Upper right would be some office space, sort of more open, touchdown type space where people don't necessarily sit at their desk all day long. And then a bottom right of a break room. So just giving you some feel for the inside. Yes.
Sorry, Ms. English, can you go back? What is that material that separates the K-9s?
It's a sort of a perforated metal screening. So the K-9s, there is holes in it so that the air can pass through, but the K-9s would not be touching a person.
Oh, cool. Thank you.
So we've worked closely with Lieutenant Kelly and his team who runs the K-9 program to develop this. Then into the jail spaces, the upper left is waiting and visitation, where the inmates will be waiting in order to take a visit behind any of those doors for the different visitation spaces. The upper right is an example of the medical space, again, looking very much like a traditional medical space that you might see at your doctor's office or hospital. And then the bottom left is the sample housing unit. I know there's been some talk of water, and one of the, just to remind you, the colors of each of the floors, one of the colors, the basis for that is water, and so that's kind of that blue look that's running through in color only, not actual water. And then the bottom right is a behavioral care center housing unit, so with a little bit softer furniture, more group space where people can move and meet about in those spaces. So just giving you another refresh. These you've seen in the past. I just wanted to bring them back a little bit. So going back to the GMP amendment and the project budget, like Jeff said last time when we were here in February of last year, the total project budget was $899. In June, we were down to $890. In January, we presented 910, which was the $890 plus the geothermal, which we were within about 1.5%. We had not hit that yet, but that was still our target budget. So we've been working really hard since January, and actually before that when we got the draft GMP to drive those numbers down. So where we sit today is we have not only hit that 910, but we've actually also reduced another $4 million in value management off of the project, and then $12 million in our owner's budget of contingency that we now feel strongly that we can take out due to the different factors playing into the project. So again, this was a project budget presented last week, showing you the design builder cost, which is the GMP number. And then on top of that, you have the county costs, which include all the things listed below. So that gets us to the total project cost of $894. I just wanted to show you a sample. I know it's really hard to see and maybe a little bit easier in your printout, but this is all the trades, costs, and values that we are getting from Gilbane and their team. So that just shows you all those breakdowns, and behind each of those numbers is even more detail, but that's how you roll up to the GMP. So giving you anything from, you know, how much we're paying for the concrete packages, the masonry packages, roofing, fireproofing, all those things are listed here, just so you can understand where this, you know, 802 is a large number, how that came about. And then you also see at the bottom that the number we had to work on, value engineering, was, I think, around $20 million, which was getting us to the 910 and then also taking another 4 off. So you might think, how did you get there? What is this value management that you keep talking about? So this is another slide that we inserted this week for you, just to give you some idea of the items that we are taking for value engineering. To the left is the approved items, and then to the right are the pending items that we're still trying to discuss and work through. So anything from site work, where Gilbane has said if we can keep some of the dirt on site instead of hauling it away, we can save dollars. What does that look like? We've accepted that as a value management offer. Interior walls, looking at exactly what security we need on each walls from the time that the set was priced at GMP till now. So we've worked really close with the project team to identify these items, then Gilbane goes back and costs the items, and then we either accept them or reject them based on if we feel that this is a good choice for us to make. So we've been working diligently for several months with the project team, which includes our core team in the sheriff's office and the executives team, and then also with Gilbane and our owner's rep to make the best decisions for the project. I won't walk through this. This is Jeff's main slide about the key features for design build agreement. I think the point here is just that we have really put some guardrails on the agreement, that we feel strongly we're in a good position if the project is moving forward, that we have controls in place to come back on budget, on time, and get the project done. So the next steps, again, coordinating with the bond closing. So we know that in order to execute on the GMP, we have to have the money to back the contract. So we do need to time this with the bond closing so that we can sign the contract with money behind the contract. So that's what that's telling us. The project schedule, again, looking to close financing here in the next month or so, and then move forward with construction after that. The first things that would happen is the site excavation, the deep foundations, underground site utilities that will get going, and the foundation work. So while we're still fine tuning the details of the plans as far as interiors, right? We haven't picked paint color everywhere necessarily, those type of things. We can be working on the site because we know where the foundations are going now. We know what kind of utilities we need. So that is the advantage of a design build contract. You're able to start construction before you have all of the final details of the plans done. unless you have any interest in going through the operational study, it's the same slides as I went through last time. If you have questions, I'm happy to go there, but that is all that I had for today.
Thank you very much. Any questions or comments regarding the GMP contract?
I have a question. I was over at the jail last week visiting an inmate who had some medical concerns. On my way in, I saw the signs regarding the range, the gun range. And I was wondering, what is the status in this building? And was there ever any conversations, are there any renderings that would show a range at the Garfield site, and any pricing on that? And if so, is this, would this be a revenue generator?
Okay, so let me, can I get the slides back up? I can show you on the site. So currently in our project, we are showing where a gun range could go on the site plan. So next to number 14, where that orange box is, because 14 is the Professional Development Center, the idea would be that you would construct a new building to the west there, where the orange is. So we looked at a 10-lane gun range. We had Gilbane cost it based on work they had done for Tri-C, and it was around $8 million of construction cost. It is not currently in the project. It is not in our current budget. We did get those numbers from Gilbane, so they're actual projected, estimates from them based on something they had done recently on a gun range. As far as the current building, it's been closed. I can't tell you when it was closed, but I know it has been closed in the current Justice Center for some time. And then operations, I can bring Laurel up to talk more about it. We have done some outreach to other counties to understand how much it costs to operate it. All the counties that we have talked to had said it is not a revenue generator. There's different reasons you do it, right? It's convenience and other things that you could provide, but none of them showed us that it could actually make money as you operate the gun range. So
If we had one, would it be open to the county, the region?
So that would be to the sheriff to decide, right? He would run the gun range, but that is kind of the questions we asked the other big counties is, do you have other people come and do you make money on it? And still the cost to operate it still exceeded what people would be paying to come use it, because they also need to use it themselves a good amount of time too.
Great, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Other questions or comments? Okay, thank you very much. So it's not actually printed on the agenda, but I'm going to ask if anyone has any miscellaneous business before we adjourn. Hearing none, thank you very much for coming on an unscheduled day and for your time and attention. We are adjourned.